Hi, this is Karin from the Huntley Library, and today we're going to be making spooky books. So let's gather some supplies and we'll get started. All right, I have gathered some supplies that you can use for this particular craft. We are making spooky books today, and the first thing we're going to need is some kind of book to make spooky. So I have an old copy of Misty of Chincoteague, which has been quite beaten up. But I like the look of it because it's nice and old and kind of battered, so this would make a good spooky book. It depends on what you're planning to do with it. If it's just going to be decorative, or you're going to do some kind of like art journaling inside and it doesn't matter that there's already print on the pages, so using something like this would be fine. If you want to have something that you're actually going to write in, maybe you'll want a sketchbook like this. Or you could use a notebook if that's what you have at home, and that also provides lots of surface for writing or adding all kinds of other embellishments. So choose a spooky book, and then you are going to need either something like this craft foam to make raised portions. So if you want to add an image on the front of your book, you can cut it out of this foam. You can also do letters in the foam as well. That's a possibility. If you don't have the craft foam, something else that's a little bit thicker, like some kind of cardboard would work. If you just have like an old cracker box or cereal box, this kind of cardboard is easier to cut, and you can do several layers if you want it to be thicker and stand out more, and it'll be more embossed on your book. This is a thicker cardboard that you can use. So any of those things will work with your book. You are going to need some scissors so you can cut out your shapes and your letters. You're also going to need paint, and I've got I'm going to do a black paint over all of the embossed images and words and stuff on the book, and then paint accents on in gold or silver. So having a metallic paint or even a white paint would be good, and then the black for the whole book to do the entire cover. You'll also need some, if you're using this craft foam and it's adhesive and it already sticks, you probably won't need extra glue, but if you don't have that, then you're going to want to have glue, or I have Mod Podge, which I'm going to use to help stick everything on there. And then we're also going to use a glue gun too, to add other embellishments to the cover. So if you have that, you can use a glue gun as well. And you'll need a paintbrush to apply your paints and your Mod Podge, and some water to clean that brush off. You'll probably want to clean it off really well if you're using Mod Podge or glue with your brush, since that will ruin it forever if it dries. So have all of those things. If you want to add some more texture to your cover, also with Mod Podge or glue, you can use some tissue paper to do that, and I'll show you what to do when we get to that step. You may also want to have some plain paper just for sketching out a design. Think about what you want to do, what you want to have on your book as far as images and words go, and then draw it out beforehand so you have a plan, and that should get you started. So let me clear off the workspace here and we will begin. So here I made a really quick sketch of an idea for the front of my cover. I'm going to have a tree, I think, and then the moon in the background somewhere, and then some kind of spooky bird like a crow here on the side on one of the branches. And I haven't decided exactly the angle of the branches here or how many that I want, but this is just a rough sketch idea for my book cover. And I might have words on it. Maybe I can do spooky things and leave it like that. If you use words or letters, you're going to have to cut all of those out too, so be aware of that. You could use stencils to put images on your cover, or for the letters, that might help keep everything looking the same. Someone else who did this craft recommended getting the craft foam. There are craft foam letters that you can just buy separately. They can be a little bit pricey, and if you have a lot of words, that might get expensive for you. So that's a possibility too if you want to look into other options for your lettering. So I just wanted to see how well my sketch here fits the book, and it looks like I drew it pretty well. I mean, this size of tree is going to be fine for this book. I'll probably want to make the letters a little bit bigger. When you're doing this, you could also put your letters on the side of the book here. So if it's shelved like it is on a bookshelf, you would be able to read the spine and know what your book is all about. You could also decorate the back of your book too. But you'll have to do one side at a time so that it has a chance to dry. If you are thinking about what kinds of ideas, if you're having trouble thinking of ideas to put on your book, you could do a Google image search for old book covers or ornate book covers or spooky book covers. Some other spooky things might be spiders or trees or bones or skulls, moons, stars, bats, birds like I'm doing. It's kind of up to you. So think about what is spooky to you, if you want it to be very spooky, or if you just want it to look old, that's another possibility. You could make it look old. So now I want to get my design down on the craft foam, so I can kind of have this off to the side so I have an idea of what I'm doing. Or if you have a better sketch than what I made there, you could also just cut it out and trace around it on the craft foam or the cardboard that you're using. I will just try and freehand it and try and keep an idea of how big my book is. And since you're going to be painting over all of this, it's not super critical that it is perfect, and you can make all kinds of mistakes. Okay, let's see how that is. Maybe I want to have my bird pre-attached to it so I don't have to do a lot of extra cutting or gluing. Here's my bird. I'm assuming it's a crow. And here I have the crow's tail hanging down below. And maybe I can add an eye later on or something, or make that part of it kind of glowy so that it stands out. Okay. Oh, and a moon. I do need a moon in the background. I'm going to cut out the moon separately, I think, and place it later. Okay, so once you have a design, you can cut that out. This is pretty easy to cut. It will not get bound up like sometimes the cardboard does. Cardboard can be tough to cut. And if later on you find out that this doesn't exactly fit your book, or you need to trim some pieces off, you can do that too. So this can be a rough cut. Doesn't matter what color your foam is, since you're going to be painting over it. So if you're like me, you can just use the hot pink. I'm going to leave that a little bit longer just so I can see where it falls on my book. I think it's going to be tall enough. We'll assume that that branch goes on too. And there's probably, that one goes on that way. And like that. Keep cutting. That one will extend all the way to here. It's definitely going to be taller than my book at this point. And that one, I kind of want to hit the side of the book near the spine. We are almost there. I'm going to bring this out a little bit, this little root part. Okay, and then I just have this area in here to cut out. I think this will work if you fold it a little bit and then punch through and then just cut the center. All right, looks good. I'll move that out of the way and then we'll see how it lines up on my book. Too much tree. Okay, so once I've positioned it here, I think I like this positioning, like that. So while it's in place, if you're concerned about it moving and holding it down with one hand isn't going to work for you, you could tape this on here. Or if it's already adhesive, you can take some of the backing of the adhesive off so that it will fit or stick a little bit. You don't have to take it all off unless you want to. And then since it's got this sort of divot here right where the spine is, I don't know how well that will stick. The foam will stick to that if we're opening it a lot. If this were just going to be, I might do something on the inside later on, so I think I will cut this a little bit shorter than that little divot. And that looks like it's lining up pretty good. Once I've got it in place, I will attach, or I will cut off this little extra piece up there since it looks like I've got a little bit of an overhang. All right, so you can get your glue ready or your Mod Podge to glue this down, or if you've got the adhesive on the back, you'll flip it over, take off your adhesive, and stick it on. And if you don't like, this is a possibility too. If you didn't like the orientation of that, you can flip it over and do it on the other side. And that might be more interesting. Let's see, which way do I like it? Do I like it that way or that way? I don't know. So I think instead of cutting out a moon, I'm going to use the paint to indicate that there's a kind of a glow or a halo around the bird instead of having an actual moon there. Because that, if I have a moon behind the bird, that'll be another raised piece that's behind there, and it might just blend in, or yeah, I'm not sure how that would work. So, or it'll just be thicker in that one area. So I think I'll skip that and use the paint to do that. But if you want to make other areas of different thicknesses, go for it. If this wasn't enough embossed relief for you, go ahead and trace it again and then have a double stack of that, either in the foam or using a combination of foam and cardboard, or just cardboard. And I made some letters for the side of my book. I hope these are small enough so that they all fit there. So it's going to say spooky things. And I'm going to cut all of those out like I did with this, but after or while this is drying, so this has some time to dry. So let me, I think I do like it that way. So I'm going to just paint some of this Mod Podge on here. Okay to get it on the cover since we're going to be painting over that anyway. I do recommend that you have some kind of paper down or something to protect your table with, or wherever your workspace is, so that you don't make a huge mess. And your cleanup will be super easy too, because you can just throw that away. Mod Podge is a little stinky, by the way, if you haven't used it before. Okay. Once you've got it where you want it to be, Then just press down, make sure it is sticking. This foam moves around a little bit too. It is a little bit more flexible than the cardboard is. So just be aware of that. And you can paint over the top of it too with the Mod Podge, and that will help keep things in place. We are also going to come back around with some glue, with a glue gun, if you've got one of those, and just do the edges here where the foam, where the cardboard, your embossed design meets the cover of the book. Because we really, really would like it to stay. That also gives us a chance to add some detail too. So if you wanted to do some antiquing looks and make your cover look really ornate, and then emboss that or accent it with the metallic paint later on, you can do the designing with your glue gun. Although it will take some, glue guns take a little bit of practice, so you might, if you have a complicated design, you could trace that out over the black paint and pencil or something, and then go over it in the glue perhaps, and then practice laying down a line of the glue, because it can get everywhere and they can be kind of hot, so be careful when you're using them. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna go clean my brush and we'll let this dry for a while. I'd give it at least an hour just to make sure that it's nice and dry, and then you can touch it with your fingers and just be sure that it's dry before we move on to the next step. We are back. Looks like everything is dry here. You might notice some new things on the front here. I added some letters to the front cover, so it now says Spooky Things on the front, and I still have room on the side to put another set of letters that also says Spooky Things. So I'll do that. I'll probably use the glue gun to do that, because the Mod Podge definitely moved around a lot when I put the letters on the front cover, and it'll be hard to do it on the side. So got my glue gun all fired up, and I'm just going to glue around the edges here to make sure that this stays in place. So that should be not too difficult to do. So this part is going pretty quickly. The drying did take some time because I added those letters. So it was halfway dry, and then, whoops, suddenly there was more. I'm going to need to add another glue stick here. I have one of the mini low heat guns, so it's not quite as tragic and painful when if I happen to touch the glue by accident. Okay, and we're getting around the letters here. And the hot glue dries pretty quickly, so you won't have to wait a whole long time for this to be done. Almost there. These feel like they're staying on pretty well, just with the Mod Podge. All right. So everything is glued on the front, and now I'm going to try and glue these Spooky Things letters on the spine here. So I'm going to lay them out first so that I can find them quickly, since hopefully this will go pretty fast. G-H-I-N-G-S. Okay, so I'll start up here. And I'm not going to try and get it perfect. I'm actually just going to sort of write the shape of the letter as close as possible. It's an approximation. You don't want to glue too far ahead, just because the glue does dry really fast. And then you might get some of these trailing threads of glue too, so you can wait to pull those off until you're all done gluing. There's a K and a Y. My K is much smaller. That's all right. My Y is on there. Okay, and hopefully we have enough room for things. T, H, I, the N is already stuck to my finger, N, whoa, we're really getting down there. G, S. Oh my, it barely fits. Looks pretty good though. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go around the letters here on the side with the glue gun, and if you're doing the same thing, you can do that too. I won't make you watch all of that. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, and before I said that you could use the glue gun to add embellishments to your cover, so I'm just gonna add some lines on the tree here to make it look like it has bark. So it gives the tree a little bit of texture. And I think I've run out of glue again. One more glue stick. Loading a new glue stick. And that will push that one that's in there through. Okay, so I've got a little bit more up here to do. And then the branch. Oh, and I wanted to give the bird an eye, so I'm going to make that out of glue. And then maybe define like where a wing might be. And some tail feathers. And there's the branch. Okay, it looks good. Time to stop playing with the glue gun. Maybe I'll do like a spiral though up here, because I didn't put that moon in that I was thinking about. So maybe this can be my sort of moon in the background. Okay, so that'll look interesting once it's painted. I'm gonna unplug my glue gun and let that cool off and clean up some of the little string bits from the glue. And then once we're ready, or once this is all dry, I'm gonna say probably like 5 minutes, we can start painting. Some really stubborn bits of glue stuck to me. It's taking a while for that to come off. I lied, so you can start painting at this point if you want to. Otherwise, there is a step that we can do where we add some tissue paper over the cover just to give our design some more texture. And I think I still want to do that. So I'm going to cut off a piece here. It doesn't have to exactly fit your cover, because if you're kind of crunching it up and wrinkling it and stuff, it's not going to stretch out flat again anyway. You can also do this in strips or pieces and then just kind of lay it where you would like it. go a little bit smaller. So yep, tear or use scissors. And then this is another, if you're doing this part, another Mod Podge part. So get your Mod Podge ready. And this will require that you dry it some more. So I'm just gonna paint over my cover a little bit here and adhere some on my paper there. Make sure you get this down really well if you're using it so that it doesn't pop up, and then it wraps well around the design you have if you want your design to be very precise. Still got a little bit of stringiness from the glue there. That'll just add to my texture in the end. We like texture, right? Yes, yes we do. If you don't have tissue paper that you've bought specially, or you don't want to buy it specially, you might have something like that came with a package, like packing material, or often if you get a present or something, people wrap things in tissue paper. So you might have some sitting around at home that you can recycle for this project if you want to. What is going on under this paper? We don't know. I like that. I'm glad that I remembered to do this. Now you could do this to the back cover too, but you'll want to wait for the front cover to dry first. So try and be patient. I will try and be patient too. And I am going to try. It is possible that maybe we can do this at the same time. If I stand up the book like this. Yes. So if you have a book that doesn't mind being stood up on its pages like this, you too can do the spine at the same time. My H seems like it's not completely attached. The letters here on the side might be kind of iffy. I'm going to go a little bit onto the back cover here, just so that I have somewhere to adhere my paper. And then wrapping. But not really like a present. This would be the messiest present. But when it's all done, it might make a great spooky gift. Do you know anybody who loves Halloween? They would probably enjoy this. Or if you're making like potions or spell books or something like that, it might work with like a wizarding event. There's a very popular wizarding book series that everybody is familiar with, I'm sure. And we've done a lot of crafts related to that. But this could work out for something if you're having a party or doing an activity related to that. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to be able to be read. I think it'll be kind of subtle on the spine here. I just want to make sure this is really wet. Okay, looks good. It's drying time again for me. If you didn't do this step, you could actually get started painting, but you'll have to wait, or I'll have to wait to catch up to you. Be back soon. Okay, we're back and we're ready to paint. You may have noticed I have open my book up from the front here and it's just down on its pages. If you can do this with your book too, without damaging it or harming it in any way, then you can do both covers at the same time when you're painting. And you could have done this before for the other parts too. So note to self, you can do both covers at the same time if you have your book spread open like that. But if for some reason your book could be damaged, then do them one at a time. So I've got my black paint here. This is just black acrylic paint. And I'm going to put a little bit on the plate so that I can paint it on my book cover. You can use a large brush for this too. I'm going to use the same brush that I used for the Mod Podge. I cleaned it out really well, so it's still fixable. This is one of our ugly brushes, not because it does have some very exciting history going on the handle here, but it's just kind of a big, stiffer brush that's good for covering lots of area quickly. So you're going to try and get the paint into all of the little nooks and crannies here that you created with your foam or your cardboard and the tissue paper. And be careful around the edges so you don't paint the pages if that's important to you. You could put something down to protect that area too, or fold up your protective paper so you're not painting those together. I was going to say that the Mod Podge too comes in a glossy finish or more of a matte finish. So if you have a preference for one of those, be sure to get the kind that you like better. Depending on the thickness of your paint, you might need to do a couple of layers here to cover everything. And I might need to add some tissue paper on this side because the paint's not sticking really well to my super shiny cover. So I think I will do that. And you all can let your paint dry and we will either be adding another layer. If when your paint dries you do see some of the foam peeking through like I'm seeing here and you don't like that, add another coat of paint. If not and you're good to go, then we'll start the process of adding our silver or gold accents. We're back. Everything is painted and it looks like mostly dry. There might be one little wet spot up there. We're going to add the gold accented paint now to our spooky book. I'm using the same ugly brush, but this time it's dry. Since I don't want the paint to be as thick as it is on with the black, we're just adding accents. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my brush so you can just see it's on the ends there. And I'm going to go over some of these raised spots. Just brush them a little bit. There's a little bit too much on there. I'll do the tree a little bit, go back to that extra paint there. I got my bird and my moon. You can see the bird's eye too. And we're just brushing this on gently. I'm going to get a little bit more paint on my brush. Again, just on the ends. And if it's still looking like there's too much paint in one spot or another, you can go back with a paper towel, like a moist paper towel, and blot it a little bit. here's where it's supposed to say spooky things. I don't know if we'll be able to read that. It looks like it might just be more branches from the tree. So let's see how it comes out on the spine here. Spooky things. Spine might work a little bit better. A little bit more paint on the back cover here. That's just going to accent some of those folds. I didn't put any other designs that are on the back in either foam or glue. Yeah, it is still, there's still a little bit of wet paint on there. That's okay. But this is kind of cool. It could be more forest on the back here if we were thinking about continuing the design. And maybe some parts of the woods are lit up by the glow of the moon. And you really don't need too much paint for this, so if you're being conscientious about your paint usage, that's how much I had started with, and I really haven't used a whole lot of it, so you can use even less than that unless you want a super gold finish. Looks cool. And it looks pretty even to me too. So I'm going to stop there and let that dry and call it finished. Here's kind of a close-up of everything. And there's the spooky things on the spine, which you can read a little bit better, and then the back. Cool. I hope you had fun making spooky books with me today. I hope you'll join us for more fun activities. Check out our website, www.huntleylibrary.org. Spooky.